Welcome to the Leadership Art Podcast. I'm your host, Art Robbins, and it's great to have you join us. The Leadership Art Podcast features insightful conversations with industry leaders who lead with purpose. And our purpose is to inspire you to be the best leader you can be. One of the most powerful leadership lessons ever written didn't come from a business book. It came from a novel. Imagine if just one sentence could make you a better leader. Just one sentence. It comes from To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, when Atticus Finch tells his daughter Scout, "You never really know a man until you stood in their shoes and walked around in them." That idea, walking in someone else's shoes, may be one of the most important leadership skills there is, because the most effective leaders don't simply judge people, they try to understand them. And understanding begins with empathy. In modern business, empathy isn't just a soft skill. For a leader, it's a competitive advantage. It's the difference between judging a team and understanding the forces that drive them. Let's see how. To briefly recap the story, To Kill a Mockingbird takes place in the deeply segregated southern town of Macomb during the 1930s. Atticus Finch is a small-town lawyer who agrees to defend Tom Robinson, a black man falsely accused of assaulting a white woman. Throughout the novel, the town is governed by perception and prejudice. People are quick to judge others, especially those who are different from them. Atticus is different from the rest of the townsfolk, but in a good way. He listens. He asks questions. He tries to understand the forces shaping people's behavior. In other words, he tries to walk in their shoes. The novel gives us several powerful examples of what that looks like. The first example is advocacy for the voiceless, where Atticus defends Tom Robinson. By taking the case, Atticus knows he will lose friends. He knows his children will be mocked. He knows the town will turn against him. But he takes the case anyway. Why? Because it was the right thing to do. Empathy requires leaders to recognize human dignity, even when the crowd refuses to. Atticus asks the jury to see the situation from Tom Robinson's perspective, the power imbalance, the fear, the lack of voice. It reminds us that leadership often means advocating for people who may not have the power to advocate for themselves. The second example is the danger of assumptions, or the mystery of Boo Radley. For most of the story, the children imagine Boo as a mysterious and frightening figure who never leaves his house. They invent stories about him. They fear him. But by the end of the novel, Scout realizes something important. Boo Radley has been quietly protecting them all along. In the final scene, Scout follows her father's advice. She stands on Boo's porch and looks out at the neighborhood from his point of view. Suddenly, she understands. That moment is empathy in action. For leaders, the lesson is clear. People we misunderstand are often people we simply haven't taken the time to understand. The third example is the invisible battle, the struggle of Mrs. Dubose. To the children, she is just a cruel, angry old woman who insults them whenever they walk past her house. But after her death, Atticus explains something the children never knew. Miss Dubose was battling a morphine addiction. She chose to endure the terrible pain in order to die free of it. Atticus calls her the bravest person he knew. Suddenly, everything looks different. The same person the children thought was simply mean was actually fighting an invisible battle. Leaders see this reality every day. People carry pressures, fears, and struggles we rarely see. Empathy begins when we recognize that there is almost always more to the story. Well, in To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus Finch isn't just a lawyer. He's a masterclass in empathetic leadership. In a divided world, both then and now, his advice forms the foundation of any strong team culture. When you walk in someone's shoes, the difficult employee may turn out to be someone facing burnout you didn't see. When you understand the why, you can lead the how. But empathy isn't always comfortable. For Atticus, it meant standing outside a jail cell alone against a mob. For leaders today, it might mean defending an unpopular idea, or admitting you were wrong, or prioritizing what's right over what's easy. And empathy isn't simply being nice, it's the moral courage to see the humanity in everyone, even those who disagree with you. So, what are the key leadership lessons from To Kill a Mockingbird? First, empathy requires curiosity before judgment. Atticus pauses before judging. He asks questions. He listens. He tries to understand the forces shaping people's behavior. Great leaders do the same. When an employee misses a deadline, when a colleague pushes back in a meeting, when a customer reacts emotionally, the easy response is judgment. The leadership response is curiosity. Ask, what's going on here? What pressure are they under? What might I be missing? Curiosity is the doorway to empathy. Next, empathy does not mean agreement. One of the most important things about Atticus Finch is that he can understand people without endorsing their behavior. He recognizes the fear, bias, and pressure influencing the town, while still standing firmly for what he believes is right. That's an essential leadership skill. Empathy is not surrender. It does not mean abandoning standards or accountability. It simply means recognizing that people's behavior is shaped by their experiences, incentives, and pressures we may not see. When leaders understand that, conversations change. Instead of confrontation, you get dialogue. Instead of escalation, you get understanding. And third, empathy builds trust, even when decisions are hard. Leaders often face decisions that won't make everyone happy. Budgets get cut, strategies shift, priorities change, but people respond very differently depending on whether they feel heard and understood. When leaders genuinely try to see the world from another person's perspective and factor that into their decisions, something powerful happens. Even if people disagree with the outcome, they trust the intent, and that trust becomes the foundation of strong teams and winning cultures. So what's the practical takeaway for leaders? Atticus Finch gives us a simple test. Before reacting to someone, ask yourself, have I tried to put myself in their position? Have I tried to understand their incentives, their pressures, their fears, their goals? Because leadership isn't just about making decisions. It's about understanding people deeply enough to make the right ones. And with that, you will earn their respect and trust. And that is one of the greatest leadership lessons ever written in a novel. You never really understand a person until you stand in their shoes and walk around in them. Well, that's it for now. Let me know what you think of today's Leadership Art article. React, comment, and share your own experiences. And as always, thank you for listening and for your ongoing support. Until the next episode of the Leadership Art Podcast, this is your host, Art Robbins, and remember, it's your lead.